Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Storytime with Uncle Monkey. I am your Uncle Monkey,
This is Justin Hoff,
Justin Hoff,
punk.
and we're going to read a story to you called The Donkey.
Oh God, oh no, he's dead. Will you shush and read
Once
the
upon a time, there lived a king and queen who were rich and had everything they wanted except one thing. They had no children. The queen lamented over this day and night, and she said, I am like a field in which nothing grows. At last, God gave her her wish, but when the child came into the world, it did not look like a human child, but was a little donkey.
Oh yeah.
When the mother saw that, her lamentations and outcries began in real earnest. She said she would far rather have had no child than to have had a donkey, and that they were to throw it in the water that the fishes might devour it. But the king said, No, since God has sent him, he shall be my son and heir, and after my death sit on the royal throne and wear the kingly crown.
Crown. Nice.
The donkey therefore was brought up and grew bigger, and his ears grew up beautifully high and straight. He was, however, of a merry disposition, and jumped about and played and had a special pleasure in music, so that he went to a celebrated musician and said,
Number one.
Yep.
Don't touch.
No,
Please don't
please
teach me how to play
the,
flute.
the lute. Good.
Flute. I want to play it well.
Ah, dear little master, answered the musician, that would come very hard to do. Your fingers are certainly not suited to it, and are far too big. I am afraid the strings will not last.
Try that one.
No excuses were of any use. The donkey was determined to play the lute. He was persevering and industrious, and at last learnt to do it as well as the master himself. The young lordling once went out walking full of thought and came to a well. He looked into it, and the mirror clear water he saw his donkey's form. He was so distressed about it that he went out into the wide world and only took with him one faithful companion. They traveled up and down, and at last they came into a kingdom where an old king reigned who had an only but wonderfully they traveled up and down, and at last they came into a kingdom where an old king reigned who had an only but wonderful daughter. The donkey said,
I hope I stay at home. Hello. Anyone in there?
As, however, the gate was not opened, he sat down, took his lute, and played it in the most delightful manner with his 2 forefeet. Then the doorkeeper opened his eyes most wonderfully wide and ran to the king and said, Outside by the gate sits a young donkey who plays the lute as well as any experienced minstrel. Then the musician come to me, the king said.
That's really good funny.
When, however, the donkey came in, everyone began to laugh at the lute-playing donkey. And now the donkey was asked to sit and eat with the servants.
Oh no.
He, however, was unwilling and said,
I hope I'm a servant.
I am not a servant.
I'm not a servant. I am a musical musician. I want to sit next to the king.
The king smiled and said good-humoredly, Yes, it shall be as thou wilt, little donkey. Come here to sit by me. Then he asked the donkey, Donkey, how does my daughter please you? Do you like her?
Oh yeah, I like her. She's pretty.
Well then, you shall sit next to her too. The donkey placed himself by her side in between the princess and the king. He ate and drank and knew how to behave himself daintily and cleanly. When the noble beast had stayed a long time at the king's court, he thought,
After all this, I will have to go home again. That makes me sad.
He went to the king and asked for his dismissal, but the king had grown fond of him and said, "Little donkey, what is wrong with you? You look as sour as a jug of vinegar. I will give you what you want. Do you want gold?
No, no,
Do you want rich jewels?
no way, no,
Do you want half my kingdom?"
no way. What, are you crazy? Pretty funny, huh?
Hmm.
Uh,
Do you want to marry my daughter?
yes. Yes, I will marry your princess.
Well, then that's what we'll do. And all at once the donkey became happy and full of merriment. That was exactly what he was wishing for. If he married the princess, he could stay in this wonderful kingdom. So a great and splendid wedding was held. In the evening, when the bride and bridegroom were led into their bedroom, the king wanted to know if the donkey would behave well and treat his daughter correctly.
Wow.
When they were both so the king asked for one of his servants to hide himself in the bedroom. When the donkey and the princess were alone, the donkey looked around and he believed that they were all alone, and he took off his donkey skin, and instead he was a handsome young man. And he said to the princess,
Oh, now,
no, this one.
now, you can see I really am. Do you like me?
And the princess said,
Oh, darn.
no. And the princess said,
Oh,
oh,
gosh.
no, here it is. Here you go. Then the princess was glad, and she kissed him, and she loved him dearly. Then the phone rang.
Oh, God.
When morning came, the donkey jumped up, put on his animal skin again, so no one would have known that his true form was that of a handsome young man. Soon came the old king. "Ah, is my little donkey friend happy?" And then he said to his daughter, "Are you happy? I'm sorry you don't have a proper man for your husband." But the daughter said, "Oh no, dear father. I love him well as if he were the handsomest man in the kingdom."
God.
The king was surprised, but the servant who had concealed himself came and revealed everything to the king. The king said, "That cannot be true." And the servant said, "Well then, watch it yourself the next night. You will see that what I said is true. And if you take his donkey skin and you throw it in the fire, he's going to be stuck as a person forever." "Your advice is good," said the king. And that night he snuck in and he saw where the donkey skin was. He took it and he ran away. He had a great fire lit in the courtyard. And he threw the donkey skin onto the bonfire.
Whoa.
And then he stayed awake the whole night and watched to see how the donkey would behave now that he couldn't turn back into a donkey. When morning came, the youth woke up and he looked around for his donkey skin, but it was nowhere to be found. And then he thought to himself,
Oh, darn.
Mhm.
Now I am running away.
But when he went out, there stood the king, who said, "My son, where are you going in such haste? What have you in mind? Stay here. You are such a handsome man. You shall never go away. I will give you now half of my kingdom, and when I die, you will have the whole kingdom." The donkey said,
Oh, thank you. I hope you will be living a long time. I'm happy that I can stay here with you.
and the old man gave him half his kingdom, and in a year's time he sadly passed away. And the youth had the whole kingdom. And after the death of his father, he had the other kingdom as well, and lived in all magnificence with his beautiful bride. The end.
Oh, good job, man. Good
Woo!
job.